Then we will start. Thank you, Yilian. Okay, so today we were learning the lesson 24th. Lesson 24th. Then first we will have a short meditation. Let's visualize the 5 perfections. The perfection of place is Sugawadi, the blissful pure land. The perfect teacher is Buddha Amitabha. The perfect assembly is Bodhisattva and the deities of Lotus family. The perfect teaching is Mahayana Buddhism. The perfect time is ever roving wheel of eternity. We can visualize this Amitabha Tanka, and then we're thinking about the 5 perfections, the place, teacher, assembly, teaching, and time. So with this time, we'll bring our mind to our body and then get ready for the lesson. Okay, let's continue. So we're going to taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. In the Buddha Dharma and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until I attain enlightenment. Through the merit of practicing generosity and so forth, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Is another generating bodhicitta in Mahayana. I and other sentient beings, infinite in number, have always been Buddhas from the very beginning. In acknowledgement that this is how things are, I generate the mind of the supreme awakening. This is generating bodhicitta. So 7-line prayer. Hom ujin ijin nashan san bema gisa dombola. Yeso jogyo ujeni bema juni jisocha. Kuru kanju maboko jiji jisota jiji shinjila jisa soso guru bema soto hom. Hom ujin ijin nashan san bema gisa dombola. Yeso jogyo ujeni bema juni jisocha. Kuru kanju maboko jiji jisota jiji shinjila jisa soso guru bema soto hom. Home in the northwest of the land of Uddiyana, in the heart of the lotus flower, endowed with the most marvelous attainment, you are renowned as the lotus-born, surrounded by many hosts of dakinis. Following in your footsteps, I pray to you, come, inspire me with your blessings. Guru Bema Sito Home. Okay. We pray to Jime Ponso Rinpoche, the swift bestowed of blessings, a Guru Yoga. Nechin Rinwo Nashan San Bema Gesa Dombola. Nechin Rinwo Nashan San Jempen Toki Ilamin, Jime Ponso Shawade, Gonji Toba Shinjilo. Nechin Rinwo Nashan San Jempen Toki Ilamin, Jime Ponso Shawade, Gonji Toba Shinjilo. In the pure realm of this great sacred site, the 5 peak mountain, the blessings of Manjushri's wisdom ripened in your mind. Jime Ponso, at your feet I pray, inspire me with your blessings, transmit the realization of the wisdom mind. Okay, homage to the teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to the wisdom warrior Manjushri, homage to the entire loving lineage masters. The unsurpassed, profound, and wonderful Dharma is difficult to meet for hundreds and thousands, million eons. Now that I get the chance to see, hear, receive, and practice it, may I understand the ultimate meaning of Tathagata. In order to liberate all sentient beings, please generate the supreme bodhicitta. Okay, with this bodhicitta in mind, so we'll start our today's teaching. So first, we will look at the outline of the word of my perfect teacher. So this is the X mind outline. So we will quickly go over what we learned and what we are going to learn. So the word of my perfect teacher has two parts. First, the proper way to listen to the spiritual teachings. And the second is the teaching itself. So the proper way to listen to the spiritual teachings. So we have learned everything here. The first is attitude and conduct. This is for us to generate, to have the right method to generate the correct conduct to listen to the teachings. First, attitude. First, we were talking about the attitude of the bodhicitta. What's the feature of bodhicitta? Because bodhicitta is the heart of the Mahayana teachings. So we have to have the bodhicitta in order to get enlightenment. So the bodhicitta need compassion and wisdom. So this is the goal. We need to have bodhicitta. So what is bodhicitta? Include two things, compassion and wisdom. So what's the skill it means? Why we practice Vajrayana. So it has the same goal, but free for all confusions. Reaching method, we have lots of pith instructions. This is with sharp faculties. The mantra vocal is blind. So we have lots of features why we practice Vajrayana. So this is the first very important part. And then how to practice the conduct. So what do we need to do to listen to the teachings? First is what to avoid. The second is what to do. So what to avoid? We learned 3 defects of the part, 6 stains, 5 wrong ways of remembering. So this is a whole, I'm not going through one by one, but this is what to avoid. Next is what to do. What to do also have 3 parts. First is 4 metaphors. Second is 6 transcendent perfections. The last one is the other mode of conduct. So the 4 metaphors, this is very important. Think of yourself as someone who's sick. Think of Dharma as the remedy. Think of your spiritual friend as the skillful doctor. Think of diligent practice as the way to recovery. This is very important. And the 6 transcendent perfections, generosity, discipline, patience, diligent, meditation, and wisdom, also very important. This is the right way to generate bodhicitta. So everything we hear here is we have to train our mind in the correct way to for the practice to generate bodhicitta, which is ultimate goal. So next is the other mode of conduct. This is a few items. Like cultivate the dignified bearing of thorough discipline with your eyes brimming with joy, drink the words like nectar and be complete, concentrated. This is the teaching. Those, they have few to avoid, few conducts. Okay, we have quickly go through the proper way to listen to the spiritual teacher. Then now we are on the teaching itself. The teaching itself has 2 parts. 3 parts. First, the external preliminaries, which is common preliminary. The internal preliminaries on common swift way of transference consciousness is pova. So now we are on common preliminary, the difficulty of finding the freedom and advantages. Now this is lesson 23. Lesson 24 basically is they didn't cover these items, but it's also very important as we go through lesson 24, which is like summary, emphasize. Campo also emphasize again about the freedom and advantages we have to examine ourselves one by one. This is very important for the successful spiritual practice. So we will quickly go over the first is freedom on nature. reflecting on the nature of freedom, the 8 states without freedom. So we have to learn born as health, Preta Ram, animal, long-lived God, barbarian, wrong views, being born with no Buddha, those kappas, born deaf and mute. So this is the 8th state. This is very important. And 5 individual advantages, so 5 circumstantial advantages. And the last, okay, I'm not going to go over one by one. And the last few lessons, 8 intrusive circumstances lead no freedom to practice the Dharma. This is intrusive circumstances, turmoil from the 5 emotions, unintelligence, being dominated by the evil influence, laziness, being...
Take a look.
Sorry? Someone talking to me? Okay, so I'm not going to do one by one. This is 8 intrusive circumstances that was sometimes it will happen, right? Sometimes not happen. And for last lesson, we learned the 8 incompatible propensities that leave no freedom to practice this Dharma. This is very, very important because if we have one of them, we're not able to practice the Dharma. Being bound by one's ties, fragrant depravity, lack of dissatisfaction with the samsara, complete absence of faith, taking pleasure in bad actions, lack of interest in Dharma, heedlessness of the vows, heedlessness of the samaya. Those we covered in lesson 23. Yeah, so lesson 24 is between lesson 23 and 5. This is 5. For 5, we started to learn the 3rd items of the difficulty to find freedoms and advantages. So we are in here between. Kampo give the summary with the previous those I think 34 reflecting on these advantages. Okay, so okay, let's go back to lesson 4. So I did a quick for lesson 24, sorry. Lesson 24, we have Kampo give the pre-class teachings. So we are going through the text reading. Okay, this is just a summary. Before engaging the practice, one needed to thoroughly examine 34 aspects of the freedom and advantages. And unsuccessful practice is because you don't have all the causes and the conditions. This is very important. So start from beginning of this word of my perfect teacher, we are working on the right causes and conditions. Okay, so okay, so we are going to do this one. Word of my perfect teacher outline have covered. Lesson 24, where I also have covered this lesson 23. So I also have covered. So let's start. Today, I would like to add some content with the meditation because Kampo emphasizes a lot of the meditation on those 94 guided meditation. So as we are learning the text, okay? So the first is questions for reflection. What are the criteria of judging whether one's practice is good or bad? Please give reasons. Okay, let's start here. So we started to learn. Okay, let's start it in. Choi, could you please read the first section?
Sure.
Thank you.
Lesson 24. Before these 16 factors, or practicing the two Dharma, text reading, P-class teaching. This time I'm teaching the words of my perfect teacher more extensively, so it taking longer to complete. In terms of content, I'm trying my best to add more instructions that I know. Hopefully, they will be of help and benefit to your practice. Please prioritize the study of this text, and most importantly, please put corresponding teachings into real practice. Throughout this year's study, it is a must that you have generate conviction about the contents pertaining to the common preliminary. In the past, it was very rare that a teacher guides Ngöndro practice and practice with disciples at the same time. Therefore, after careful consideration over a long period of time, I decided to allocate time to take you through your practice of Ngöndro. Otherwise, if you only talk the talk without walking the talk, the teaching won't infiltrate your minds. Then it will be very hard for you to deal with your defilements and afflictions. I repeatedly urge those Dharma students who have the right conditions and time to practice in sitting sessions. In particular, you should establish a solid foundation through good practice on the four common preliminaries or the four thoughts, the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, the impermanence of life, the defect of samsara, and the principle of cause and effect. Most crucial is your ability to engage in the practice on your own without a solid foundation of Ngöndro, even if you may have temporarily gained some experience and have achieved a certain state through engaging in a specific practice. Since our mind cannot resonate with the four thoughts, we can hardly get any real benefit in our pursuit of liberation. This is certain. Through my own experience and observation over the years, I truly realized that without a real understanding of the Ngöndro teachings and a sustained practice of each teaching, one's practice cannot be successful. If you depart from the preliminaries, no matter how many teachers you follow, how many Dharma books you read, how many lineages you become involved in, at most, you just plant the root of merit in your mind. Without the preliminaries, it will be extremely hard for you to uproot the causes of samsara. You must devote yourself wholeheartedly to practice the four thoughts, including the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, the impermanence of life, and so forth. Recently, while teaching the words of my perfect teacher in class, I also taught the guide meditative instructions of Longshen Pass, the meaning instructions on the three virtues of relaxation in natural state of the mind, a hard extent of the practical instructions of Longshen Yingtik. Currently, the Sangha is done with the meditating on the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages. But here, I ask you to continue doing this meditation for another 2 or 3 months. In addition, keep your prostration practice ongoing. Human life is rare and transitory. I hope you will develop conviction about the common preliminaries through 2 years of practice. Therefore, recently I have asked you to meditate every morning on the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages. This is not hard to do as long as you have conviction about the Dharma. You won't like to oversleep or engage in trifles. The reason you clung to these teachings in the past is that you didn't develop deep conviction about rebirth and the preciousness of the human form. That's why you always found an excuse not to study the Dharma, or even you study, you only did it heedlessly.
Thank you, Choi. Do you have any thought about this question or any thought about the paragraph you have read?
Yeah, I think the Ken Rinpoche is trying to emphasize again and again that no matter what kind of practice you have done with our solid foundation on Ngöndro, there's at most just opportunity for you to generate a merit, but it's not leading to the liberation, so it's not effective. So Ngöndro is most important, especially he pay special focus for the student that he even take time to go to the Ngöndro together with the student, practice at the same time, and then emphasize that everyone must contemplate on the four thoughts that turn your mind away from samsara into the Dharma. And now I think he's trying to force the student, no, I would say the word force, but re-emphasize that the freedom and advantage, the 8 freedom and 10 advantages, and the preciousness of the human life is important. So if we cannot get that thought deep in our mind, no matter what kind of practice we do, no matter how many teachers we follow, no matter how many lineage we involve in, it, at most it's just creating some plant some merit in your mind, but certainly will not lead you to the liberation. And I think involving the first question that you show early on before the text reading, I think the way, I would say the criteria to check whether our practice is heading to the right direction or not, it is to gauge your own our own affliction. I think the cause of samsara, there's two things, is karma and affliction, which is klesha. If those two things continue to decrease over time, that means we are heading to the right direction. But if our practice, given how many years we practice, but if those two are not subsiding, that means we are heading probably not to the wrong way, probably to the wrong way, not the right direction. That's my thought. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I think you got the most the answer we need. So I just add. Campo also mentioned most crucial is your ability to engage the practice on your own, and also like what you said, Joy, the real understanding of the Ngöndro teachings is crucial. It's very important. We cannot skip. We have to put effort. Sustained practice of each teachings, develop deep conviction. So Campo also mentioned the deep conviction is very important. And then reflect on the freedoms and advantages carefully. Okay. Anyone want to add anything for this part? No? Okay. Okay, so we'll continue. So this one is I added because Campo mentioned the guided meditation instruction. So I want to just give some explanation about the Buddhist meditation. Anyone want to answer this question or give some a hint or whatever? What do you guys think about the meditation for the Buddhism or for the practice?
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think there's a very broad, whatever you want to explain about Buddhist meditation. But here, Campbell mentioned that we should meditate on the freedoms and advantage and so forth. I think this belongs to the analytical meditation. I think generally there are two broad categories. One is analytical meditation, and the other one is resting meditation. And in analytical meditation, we go through the reasoning intellectually one by one, just to convince ourselves this is actually true. And then I think after the analytical meditation, we could just drop all the thought to rest, so-called just drop the thought and rest, on whatever awareness and so forth. So by alternating these two, that we'll get, the teaching will get merged in our heart, and by resting meditation, and then we can sort of non-conceptual area and so forth, and then they can enhance each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. I think Julian, you have some thoughts too?
Yes, but I'm not sure how to articulate them in an organized fashion. I was just gonna mention, I thought, I was gonna say something about like what I understand with regards to Buddhist meditation is that I mean, when I first started kind of being involved with like meditation, I started, I went to a retreat, which was a Vipassana retreat. And basically there we obviously practice Vipassana meditation, but my understanding of Vipassana, I don't claim it's right. And what I thought I would say about that is that my understanding was it's using basically objects of meditation, which could be sensations or like thoughts or feelings, to actually be aware of what's going on and being able to perhaps be okay with like a difficult state of mind, which can be quite useful because that could lead one to notice things appearing and passing away, which gave me a bit more confidence in the fact that a difficult state is not going to remain there forever. And so it just kind of gave me a bit of training on being able to sustain or being able to be with a negative state. And I'm not saying that I've I've actually managed to, to realize that, but it's obviously a lifelong practice, isn't it? So, but since I've got involved with this group, I've kind of understood that a meditation actually can be conceptual meditation. I think for me, it's been very, very useful because at that stage, I would think, oh, I need to not think. That's what I understood about meditation, that I don't have to, I should not think. But in fact, thinking is very, very useful. And especially in the foundational practices, thinking about the impermanence of life and freedoms and advantages actually, for me, has been extremely useful, because that's actually made me progress in my spiritual practice a lot more than actually doing meditation where I focus on a sensation. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about this. My biggest learning point was that a sort of a conceptual meditation, if I'm using the term correctly, or like meditation on something, or I think analytical, is that analytical meditation, or on a conceptual thing like impermanence of life, is so much more important, at least for me at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Julian and Sally. Okay, let's go through the meditation.
Yeah,
So anyone? Okay, I think someone want to share.
Thank you for Julian sharing. And also, I think in the very early, when I heard about meditation, it's like a quiet mind and so on and so forth. But I think also another way to classify meditation is one is shamatha and the other is vipassana. Sometimes we do require to train our mind to become quieter so we could do investigation. So in this sense, that shamatha could be said as the foundation, because we need to be the tongue to be clear, to can reflect the moon and so forth. Then we do analytical or vipassana meditation. That's another way of classification too. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally, for added. Yes, that's correct. Actually, meditation is not that. Meditation is very flexible and very live things. It's not like you can do this, you cannot do that. And even we talk about vipassana and shamatha, that can be practiced together. It's actually vipassana need shamatha's support, right? Otherwise, vipassana is wavering. You will not get the good result. But when you practice the shamatha, you also need vipassana. So that's so for Buddhism, right? Every piece is moving. When the piece coming together, you will get a very good result. But if the same piece coming together for other people, they may not, right? So they might stuck with other people. So please don't make everything is solid, stable. So we have to open our mind. Okay, so for this one, this is coming from Kampo's website. Generally speaking, vipassana and shamatha are two basic types of meditation. Shamatha, or stabilizing or concentration meditation, refers to the act of one pointed concentration on a single object or image. This is what Julian described, single object or image or sensation or breath, right? Because our minds are almost always distracted and ceaselessly running after forms, sound, smell, taste, and sensations, like a restless monkey. The practice of shamatha is designed to bring an active mind to a place of stillness and calm abiding. So that is also important. Vipassana is also known as clear seeing or insight meditation, is a means of developing deep insight into the true nature of all phenomena. This is the wisdom of seeing things in a direct, especially the clear way, and can be further classified as analytical or settling meditation. When we talk about analytical meditation, is what Julian just described, right? Like impermanence of life, right? Freedoms and advantages, precious human birth. Those are every topic. For every topic, we need analyze. We need think. Is that true? Is this not true? Convince ourselves. So conviction, very important, right? And after analyze, and we can do settling meditation to generate the real conviction, right? Because of our mind are filled with so many confused thoughts and beliefs. So we need to deconstruct them by employing various methods of vigorous reasoning and analysis. So that's very important because we have lots of wrong thought. This method allows us to actively examine the concept we cling to and question whether they are true exist or not. When brought into a Buddhist context, this activity is called analytical meditation. So for Vipassana has analytical meditation or settling meditation. For settling meditation here, it's you don't need to think. Analytical meditation means you need to think. You need convince yourself to generate the conviction, right? Whether we reach a conclusion through analysis and reasoning, whenever, for example, impermanence or selflessness, we can remain settled in that conclusion. Or if we achieve a certain level of realization on the true nature of all phenomena, our mind can come to rest in that realization. Thus, this activity is called settling meditation. So in this activity, is first we analyze what we learned is true or not, right? When we reach a conclusion, this is true, and achieve a certain level, and then we rest. This is called settling meditation. For each topic, we were doing this repeatedly to analyze and reach a certain level of realization. That means we have convince ourselves this is true. We're not like, this is probably true, probably not, I don't know, this is not this state, right? Through these two types of practice, logic become more sustainable and understanding gain force. This is very important. And this can in turn eventually lead into wisdom, which is the direct cause for achieving full enlightenment. So we need this understanding to generate or to emerge, the wisdom can emerge. We have to have wisdom to achieve the full enlightenment. If we only sit there, not thinking, blank, we don't have this conviction. So we don't have wisdom. So we're not going to full enlightenment. But probably just the mindfulness, simple mindfulness can give you your body relaxed, your body, and then you get rested, right? And you gain some energy. That's the general purpose of that mindfulness meditation. So the regular mindfulness, but we're not doing mindfulness here. Longchen Nyingtik meditation, Ngöndro meditation. So the 92 meditation is based on Longchen finding comfort and ease in nature of mind. So those instructions, every instruction has their topic. If you look at this 92 meditation teachings, finally you will rest on conceptual, non-conceptual mind. That's finally. But before 90 meditations, you have to think and generate the conviction. So this one necessary for one to be fully prepared to enter into the ultimate realization of great perfection. So this is the correct way to practice. So this series of practice does not mean to sit quietly, to sit thoughtlessly. So instead, the mind actively engage in analysis. Why? Because we need this conviction to generate the conviction and lead into the wisdom. Conviction, then we rest onto this conviction and we have generate wisdom, right? So every aspect of wisdom, we have 92 aspects. For this aspect, we generate wisdom. Second, we generate wisdom. Third, we generate wisdom. Or we can say, reach the realization of this topic, all the topic, reach the realization of wisdom. Then we can rest on a correct emptiness, right? So a precious Campbell said, a precious human birth no longer appears as empty mouthing. Rather, the meaning will touch your heart. Later, when you see an animal or meet trichicars, you may secretly congratulate yourself that you are not one of them. Again, this practice does not stipulate that you empty your mind and allow no thinking at all. So Campbell suggests before you start, it's best to read the text first and grasp the meaning such that you need not refer back to it during the sitting. As meditation done with the prior clear comprehension will elicit in your distinctive experience. Yeah, this is what I want to share. Any questions, comments about this section? Because I think it's very important because we have to meditate. We needed to know how to meditate. We needed to know why we're doing this way for analytical meditation, for longitudinal meditation, not just to sit there think about nothing, blankness. No question? comment? Okay, so I think we have to continue. Question number 3. What should we do to avoid reckless, superficial practice? So we're going to start reading text reading 2. Okay, Anna, could you please read the text reading 2?
Sure.
Thank
Therefore,
you.
not many people these days study the Dharma. Then among Dharma students, many just stay on the surface without delving deeper. So very few Buddhists follow the sequence and really practice step by step. They think receiving the highest empowerments means that they attain enlightenment in this very life. So they can swiftly fly to the pure realm, today to the blissful realm, and tomorrow to the copper-colored mountain of glory. They are reluctant to engage in ngondro practice, unaware that although ngondro refers to a set of preliminary practices, it is actually the most crucial and fundamental practice. Recently, I gave the transmission of the neck pouch Vajrakilaya, and the recipients showed great faith. On that day, Vajrakilayas or ritual daggers were all sold out at Larungar. Some people are very attached to possessing such a dagger. Practicing Vajrakilaya does bring inconceivable merit, but sadly, some people don't even know exactly what Vajrakilaya is or how to practice the generation stage and the completion stage. They just find Vajrakilaya nice looking and think it can subdue evil forces. Sadly, I rarely hear someone place great importance on the words of my perfect teacher, thinking the text is the most important thing in their life, and carrying a copy with them for frequent consultation. I'm afraid there is no such person among us. If you don't agree with me, please raise your hands and we will see how many hands are in the air. Therefore, it seems you don't pay enough attention to the words of my perfect teacher, unlike most of the Buddhist practitioners of my generation. Well, perhaps it's because you have superior faculties, so you take the top-down approach. You start from the fruition downwards, whereas practitioners of my generation have inferior faculties, so we choose the bottom-up approach, starting from ngondro upwards. 20 years after we first encountered the ngondro teaching, we are still at Larungar. Therefore, please grasp this opportunity and don't let it slip away. You will establish a solid foundation through the preliminary practices. Our human life is truly rare and precious. In our short life, how many opportunities do we have to practice ngondro? Not many, I'm afraid. Perhaps this is the first time as well as the last time in this life for you to practice ngondro in such an extensive manner. Perhaps this is the first time as well as the last time for me to guide you through the ngondro practice. Take, for example, the practice on the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages. Through your meditation, make sure you truly feel that having a human form is very rare and precious. This feeling should come from bottom of your heart, not as a pretense. If you do feel this way, excuse me, then when you see countless beings not studying the Dharma, you should feel sorry for them. Meanwhile, you should use your human form to practice diligently, instead of wasting your precious human life. My goal is to help you reach this state of practice. We are currently in the degenerate age, and the fruition period of the Dharma has long passed. So swift realization is no longer possible. Nevertheless, as long as each of you lay a solid foundation, your practice will not waver or regress in this life. This will create an extremely supreme dependent arising supreme dependent arising for all future lives. We must know that the purpose of studying the Dharma is to assimilate the teachings into our minds, just as the lineage masters pass on the Dharma from generation to generation. Now let's begin today's teaching. But the text itself has a supreme blessing power, so I hope you always carry a copy with you. Through studying the way of the Bodhisattva, we gain a general understanding of Mahayana Buddhism and learn about the merits and benefits of gathering bodhicitta. Through studying the words of my perfect teacher, we are further equipped with practical path instructions on how to counteract afflictions and eradicate self-clinging. Meanwhile, with the invisible blessings of lineage masters, when causes and conditions come together, compassion, wisdom, and other signs of effective practice will definitely arise in our mind.
Thank you, Anna. Sorry, what I'm doing. Okay, so what should you do to avoid reckless superficial practice?
Ngöndro. Well, just like anything in the world, you have to lay a good foundation to build something stable and high enough, I guess. So don't be arrogant and just go over and think you know what you read. Yes, you have to sort of embody the Ngöndro teaching with you and really let the teaching become the part of you. I think that's what Khenpo want to say. In short, I guess that's my interpretation on how to establish a solid foundation. And so you don't get the reckless and superficial practitioner.
Yes. Thank you. You already got to the right point. So Kampu just mentioned we need to follow the sequence and really practice step by step. So some people want a highest empowerment, but that's not very useful. So Kampu also give the example and Vajrakilaya, and some people doesn't even know how to practice it. They just want to have it. This lots of people in this time have this kind of interest. They want to get a lot of teachings, but they don't practice it, or they don't even know how to practice. But they collect lots of teachings. Some people are unaware, like a preliminary practice is actually the most crucial and fundamental practice. And some people take the top-down approach, is the go to practice the completion phase and skip the generation phase, skip the ngondro. This is what Kampu mentioned. And he also emphasize, like, we must know the purpose of study is the Dharma is to assimilate the teaching into our mind, just as lineage masters pass on the Dharma from generation to generation. This is exactly what Anna mentioned. This is through study the word of my perfect teacher, we are further equipped with practical path instructions on how to counteract afflictions and eradicate self-cleaning. Meanwhile, the invisible blessings, when the causes and the conditions come together, so the signs, compassion, wisdom will rise in our mind. So we, from beginning until now, until end, we are learning the right causes and conditions. Then if we have the right causes and conditions, we will have the right fruition. Okay. So let's start the reading 3. Okay, here. This is 2 stories. Let me see. Nim, could you please read this part?
Until all 16 factors that leave no opportunity for practice have been thoroughly examined and eliminated, individuals in this degenerate age may appear to possess all the freedoms and advantages and seemingly embody true practitioners of the Dharma. However, whether it be the lineage holder on his throne, the Lama beneath his parasol, the hermit in his mountain solitude, the one who has renounced worldly affairs, or anyone who holds an inflated self-importance, all may believe they are engaged in the practice of Dharma. Nevertheless, as long as these additional constraints continue to exert their influence, they're not truly on the correct path. This paragraph is very important. Without careful examination, many practitioners may fool themselves and deceive others. Such practitioners think highly of themselves. I am not an ordinary lay practitioner, or I'm not an ordinary monastic. They think of themselves as high-ranking lamas, dharma kings, great tulkus, or mahasiddhis, who always live in the respect, praise, flowers, and applause of others, real qualified teachers of the Dharma. However, if their mind stream is constrained by the 16 additional conditions, including stupidity, emotional turmoil, heedlessness of the vows and of the samayas, they're not considered to have even entered the Dharma, let alone liberate all beings. Many Han Chinese lay practitioners show great respect to me, but since I often examine myself, I know I'm not impeccable. Therefore, these lay practitioners may in some ways overestimate me, as I am just an ordinary monk. There must be similar situations wherein we have not noticed our faults. For example, someone remains in the Sangha but isn't upholding pure precepts, or someone is sitting on the Dharma seat but isn't managing Sangha affairs in accordance with Vinaya. In such cases, there's only one outcome for this person's next life: to have a bad rebirth as a hell being, a hungry ghost, or an animal. In fact, there are many instances of practitioners falling into the lower realms. Here's a story from the Chronicles of Mount Wutai. In the Tang Dynasty, a monk named Fahey had been a temple overseer at Mount Wutai for 20 years. But with the Sangha's money, he privately bought a large piece of land and left it to the disciple Ming Hu. When Fahey died, he was reborn as an ox in Ming Hu's family, and the ox was so full of strength that it could plow alone. 30 years later, the ox was old, so the farmer in charge wanted to sell it. On that night, Ming Hu had a dream in which his late master cried and said, "I bought the land for you with the Sangha's money, so I was reborn as an ox, and now I'm an old and weak. I hope you will skin me for a drum and put my name on it. Whenever there's a ritual of worship or recitation, please hit this drum. By doing so, my suffering will be relieved, and I will have the opportunity for liberation. Otherwise, even when the land becomes an ocean, I may still not get liberated." Then the ox threw itself against a tree and died. Ming Hu was scared, so he woke up at midnight to gather the Sangha immediately and told them what had happened. Following the instructions in his dream, Ming Hu skinned the ox, made a drum out of the leather, and put his master's name on it. He sold the land and offered all the money to the Sangha. Later, this drum was sent to Manjushri Hall at Mount Wutai, and upon hearing its story, people started to call it the human skin drum. We can imagine Fahim must have received great respect from others during his life. But why was he reborn as an ox? It was because he lacked conviction in basic views, such as the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages and the law of karma. As a result, he recklessly committed many wrongdoings, which led him to rebirth as an ox. Story number 2. Here's a story from the Memoirs of Eminent Monks. Shide used to herd the cattle Oh, you went up too much. Okay, the Sangha was engaging in Uposatha practice. They brought oxen to the front of the Dharma hall and started to clap hands and laugh. It disturbed the Sangha, so a monk expelled him out with a stick. Shide said, "From now on, I will never herd the cattle." A monk asked, what are you going to do instead of herding the cattle? One cannot just eat without working here. Yes, replied Shide. The oxen used to be those who ate without working in their previous life. They were the higher-ranking masters and administrative monks in this temple. The Sangha didn't believe him, so Shide shouted out the names to the cattle, one by one in front of the Sangha. Vinaya Master Hongjing, please step forward. Hearing this, a white ox walked out with a moo. Shide continued, Temple Chef Wang Chao, please step forward. Hearing this, a black cow walked out with a moo. Seeing this, the Sangha was shocked. Shide pointed to the cattle and said a verse. In the previous life, you had a human face, yet an animal heart. In this life, you end up suffering this way. Why do you resent? Who do you resent for this? The Sangha was petrified after hearing this verse and realized the law of karma is infallible. Therefore, they corrected their wrong behaviors and engaged in genuine practice for the sake of their liberation. Some people may wonder, given these stories, does it mean it's more common for a practitioner than an ordinary person to have a bad rebirth? Not really. In fact, ordinary people are even more likely to fall into the lower realms because they don't have the opportunity to practice. So they tend to commit more severe wrongdoings. As you know, a lack of conviction about the rarity of human life will obstruct subsequent practice and hinder your progress on the path to liberation. Therefore, it is very important that we first carefully examine ourselves and analyze the 18 freedoms and advantages one by one. Some of you have followed this advice and practiced accordingly, yet felt nothing. This means you have not really focused on the practice. If you meld each piece of teaching with your mind stream, you will definitely generate faith in the Dharma. Practicing Dharma doesn't mean meditating with your eyes closed or having a direct vision of a deity in a particular form. What I just mentioned about reflecting on our freedoms and advantages is already the real practice of Dharma. Some of you didn't practice well the common preliminaries. You did the practice recently but had no feeling. This means your practice is just a formality, and your practical experience can easily change or even regress. So before assuming the forms of the Dharma, it is important to first carefully check whether or not you have all 34, 18 plus 16 equal 34 aspects of the Dharma. Therefore, through this study, I hope you will realize that some of your practice is merely display of formality without really engaging the mind. In fact, once the Dharma is integrated into a practitioner's mind, their manners will be very different from someone whose practice is just superficial. This can be seen in many eminent masters.
Thank you very much. Sorry, this paragraph is very long. Thank you so much. For this paragraph, there's no questions. Could you please share what you feel or anything in your mind when you're reading?
Yeah, I think what came to my mind when I was reading this paragraph was just, again, from my own self-reflection, because that happens a lot when I read this text, is how we are unconsciously grasping at permanence, and we don't see the impermanent nature of human existence, even though it's a rare and precious gift. It's just going to run out. And so we take a lot of practice for granted. I think in the previous section, it said that, which stood out to me then was like, this might be your last non-draw. You might not even get it through the non-draw that you're practicing, or you won't have me to instruct you, which obviously we don't, or you won't have a teacher to instruct you through non-draw. And then this one now gave these two stories about how we take human life for granted. I'm assuming these masters did, and these monks and these people, and making just silly mistakes or things that we think wouldn't lead to an imperfect rebirth because we're in the moment in the human life. We end up with these really bad rebirths where we're not able to practice the Dharma. And so we're struggling to get liberation. like one of the stories said, it's just like this monk was able to give this vision to his student, I guess it was his student, to say, like, kill me as an ox and turn my skin into this drum hide so they can beat it. And I guess during the chanting and whatnot, that will help him through to liberation. But many of us won't have, I guess, the realizations to be able to even do that. So we have to really focus on our practice and taking advantage of the fact that we do have this precious human rebirth. And not only that, that we have these advantages. And so we do need to really, really focus on our practice and take advantage of the advantages and do the practice and do it well. I don't know. That was what came to my mind. Just a lot about impermanence and how we don't think about it. We just assume that we'll have another practice and we'll be here next Friday. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for this wonderful answer. I think yes. So what Kampo here, like some of the part without full examination, many practitioners may fool themselves and deceive others. Means if they didn't understand correctly, then someone isn't uphold pure precepts. And the mind stream is constrained by the 16 additional conditions. So including some like stupidity, emotion turmoils, those headlessness of the vows. So they will have the bad rebirth, which exactly what you mentioned. So this is very important. So it's also said ordinary people are even more likely to fall into the lower realm because they don't have the opportunity to practice. So they don't have the merit. They tend to commit more severe wrongdoings, accumulate lots of karma, bad karma. A lack of conviction about rarity of human life will obstruct subsequent practice and hinder your progress on the path of liberation. So it's also very important. Reflecting on freedoms and advantages is already the real the practice of the Dharma. This is also, if we go back to think about the meditation we Kampo present, is 92 meditations, like different topic, each topic like rarity of human life, precious human life, right? Is one topic reflecting on the freedoms and the advantages, another topic. So for each topic, if we have conviction, so we will have different feeling. So Kampo also said, in fact, once the Dharma has integrated into a practitioner's mind, their manners will be very different from the one who practice is just superficial, because the Dharma, the real Dharma, is integrated in a practitioner's mind. So if they know this is like a real human life, they will work very hard to practice, right? So if they have reflecting on the freedoms and the advantages, like one of them is missing, they were noticed, and then to working on to gain the freedoms and the advantages. So that's why the analytical meditation is very important. So we have to have each of the guided meditation instruction properly practiced, reflected, and then the Dharma will integrate with our mind, and then our behavior, everything will change because our mind changed. Okay, so anything else? Anyone want to add it? No? Okay, so let's continue. This is the text reading 4. Question: what is the real Mara's obscuration during the practice? What is your understanding? Okay. Let's see. Julian, could you please read
Yes.
text reading 4? Thank you. Go ahead.
Once a practitioner has generated conviction about the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, they will place great importance on transcendental practice for liberation, which is reflected in their speech, actions, and manners. Of course, it is hard to have all of the freedoms and advantages during the degenerate age. If you have all of them, take a moment to rejoice and reflect deeply on each one over and over again. Everyone should reflect on this. Have I ever examined my inner state for the freedoms and advantages? As Longchenpa says in the 30 pieces of heart advice, if we have listened to many learned masters and received deep instructions, have we studied a few sutras and tantras without ever applying them? Oh, how pitiful. We are just fooling ourselves. Ever since I myself encountered this teaching, I have been putting it into real practice. If we do not put the Ngöndro teachings into real practice and instead focus on other practices, our practice will be off track and can hardly achieve any substantial progress. Therefore, this is what we should remind ourselves. Now that I have finally attained these hard-to-find freedoms and advantages, I will not waste them, no matter what. I will commit to practicing the true Dharma. This human life is indeed very rare to find. In terms of its causes, to obtain a precious human life, we must have upheld pure precepts and had pure faith, as said in Nagarjuna's precious garland. Having faith dispels the states without freedoms. Upholding precepts enables a good rebirth. In terms of its conditions, we must have practiced generosity, generated supreme aspirations, and so forth. In addition, by reflecting on its metaphors and nature, a precious human life is indeed very hard to obtain. We are fortunate to have a human form in this life, and if we want to get a good rebirth in the next life, we must hold pure precepts. If we want to uproot defilements, including greed, anger, and ignorance accumulated since the beginningless time, we must practice with this human form. Vasubandhu says, to attain a good rebirth, it is important to uphold precepts. To uproot defilements, it is important to practice Dharma. Some people complain about their heavy afflictions, saying they've read many Dharma books and recited the Diamond Sutra many times, but their greed and anger persist and even grow stronger. Well, it is because they have not put the teachings into real practice. If they engage in real practice, afflictions will absolutely go away. This will definitely happen because practicing Dharma directly antidotes afflictions. It's as when a fire is fierce, coolness will naturally disappear. Therefore, we should be highly motivated to practice the Dharma. As Patrul Rinpoche says, the authentic Dharma is just around you, so there's no need to seek it elsewhere. Some people are always unable to have a successful practice. They switch from one teacher to another, from one monastery to another. Sometimes, when I listen to their stories, I can only remain silent. Why is this happening? Is it because they have not established a solid foundation? They rarely reflect inwardly, but seek outwardly, so wherever they go, they cannot have a successful practice. In fact, everyone can have a successful practice. The key is whether a practitioner is willing to devote enough effort. For example, if you devote enough effort to practice of the difficulty of finding the freedoms and advantages, then you will be able to practice the Dharma steadily for a few decades, which will without doubt lead to success in your Dharma practice. Especially while studying the Dharma, if you intentionally stop receiving transmissions or become unwilling to practice, this is so-called obscuration of Mara. Padmasambhava gave a supreme instruction to Yeshe Tsogyal, in which he said, whatever brings obstacles to one's practice, be it internal or external, is the obscuration of Mara. For example, if you want to receive a transmission, but someone else dissuades you from hearing it and suggests you leave, this is an obscuration of Mara. Mara doesn't necessarily take the form of a ferocious devil. Sometimes it may appear as a friendly Dharma fellow or a loving and caring teacher who seems to care about you so much. After hearing his words, you may be so enchanted that you do not feel like sleeping for 3 or 4 days, feeling comfortable and warm in your heart. When you close your eyes, his smile and look appear in your mind. Nevertheless, if this person brings obstacles to your practice, then whatever he appears to be, according to Padmasambhava, is an obscuration of Mara. Dharma students should stay cautious about this. As mentioned earlier, you must check your own state carefully, first to see whether or not you have all 34 aspects of the freedoms and advantages. If you find some aspects are missing, you should strive to your utmost to acquire them. At all times, you should make sure to carefully examine whether or not you possess all the freedoms and advantages. Of course, such an examination doesn't only last 1 day or 2. You should examine your own state anytime and anywhere in your life. To be honest, I like practitioners whose practice is not influenced by place and time. For them, practice becomes a habit, so it is like taking meals on a regular basis. Whenever or wherever they are, they hold on to their practice. This is the true perseverance.
Thank you, Julian.
Thank you.
Do you have any thought?
I think this is a perfect question for me because I feel, so the question is, what is the real Mara's obscuration during the practice? What is your understanding? Well, I think Guru Rinpoche has kind of stated it very simply, but also very deeply. Anything that my understanding is that anything that takes us away from the practice and away from the teaching, anything that pulls us away from, wanting to study Dharma, to read Dharma texts or meditate or be, reflective, is going to be compatible with an obscuration of Mara. And so I think for me recently, because I've been thinking about this, and if I were to share my own experience, I would say that I feel like lately I've been attacked by Mara from all directions. And I did feel a lot of procrastination towards practice. I am trying to sit an exam as well for work, and I feel like I'm procrastinating both, to study Dharma and also studying for this exam. And I've kind of had a lot of distractions coming through, and I did think about this being very much, obscurations, and it's very, very hard to stay on track. I do my best, but yeah, this teaching and this text is very deep and very meaningful for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian, for sharing your experience. Anyone else want to share this question? No? Okay. So for my experience, sometimes I think I also have sometimes, especially in the beginning, lots of directions is pulling me, so I'm not able to complete what I want to complete. But at that time, I have to choose, right? Sometimes you cannot complete everything, so I have to choose in the right time what is the important to me I have to do. But in the meantime, I think not getting very exhausted or tensioned with whatever you need to deal with is also very important. Like for me, is if my work is very important, so I cannot avoid it. So I have to get this done, and then I can go back to practice the Dharma. But I'm not to get myself annoyed or frustrated. Try to not get it. Just calm my mind. Do as quick as possible as I can to conquer the work obstacle and then go back to Dharma. Also, I pray to my guru to bless me to get over it, or to blessing me to conquer this obstacle. But sometimes looks like the obstacle, but with the blessing, you may feel like it's not that difficult as you thought. They may difficult in the beginning as you look at the Mara, the obstacle, but when you really go conquer it or go through it, you think actually it's the help to your practice. That's my my 2 cents to share. Okay. Anyone else want to share?
I just wanted to add something. Thank you very much for sharing that. I wanted to add the fact that with all of the distractions that are happening, and I think as you have pointed as well out, that praying to Guru Rinpoche is absolutely always and always is going to bring me back to my practice, and it has never ever failed to kind of result in that effect. So I'm really grateful. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for sharing. Yes, pray Guru Rinpoche. Nim, please.
I was going to say that I think the main way to overcome these obstacles and Mara is to put the practice and Buddhism at the center of your life. I know we always say, I'll do everything else and then I'll do my practice. But if we do it the other way around, we put the practice before doing everything else, I think that way your life becomes successful as well as getting the practice done.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I think, yes, I think the blessings has great power, like the lineage masters' blessings and the Guru Rinpoche's blessings. Actually, by pray, we get the strength, we get the blessings. We can, overcome whatever happening. Even like, I would say if like the short time, right, we cannot doing like with the certain circumstances, we cannot focus like 100% on the Dharma practice, but we don't forget, we still carry on and continue pray, and then we will overcome the obstacles. Thank you to sharing. Anyone else?
Yeah, I heard a story in a teaching that I was in, and I'm paraphrasing, and the essence, it was about Mara, and they were talking about that I think it was from Gampopa. Anyways, the teacher was reading some text, and the essence was that Mara actually, as long as you're practicing, whether it's superficial or sustained diligent practice, Mara attacks all practitioners. The difference is, and again, I'm paraphrasing, is that when you're practicing superficially, Mara comes in and gives you an inflated sense of ego. So even though you're practicing superficially, it looks like your practice is going great and you're having attainments, and none of this is real. It's just Mara making you think it is. When you're practiced diligently, then it looks like obstacles. But what you can do with those obstacles is use them as reflection for your practice to see, okay, fine. If I'm experiencing these obstacles, something's not going well in my practice, or my mind is not where it should be. So we're not going to get rid of Mara. Mara's goal is to stop us from getting to liberation. Again, this is what they were talking about in the teaching. So we as practitioners have to see where Mara is showing up and be really diligent in identifying that and taking steps, whether it be praying to our gurus, or lineage masters, or asking our guru for advice, or reading Dharma teachings, just to make sure that we are clear about what's going on for us and what are the antidotes that we can use to, I guess, oppress Mara or get rid of Mara a little bit. So as you were all talking, that came back to my mind. So I wanted to share.
Thank you very much for sharing. Yes, I think Mara can be used as the for the practice. Actually, I remember Campbell also said in one place, like the very good practitioners, they don't have lots of Mara because their mind is very stable. It's not, and then they and sharp, and then they do things. They have wisdom, so they are not easy to affected or impacted on other people. So
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I was like, yep, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is when we have Mara, we probably can use it, yeah, and then we can make our mind stronger for our practice, and then we are getting close to the liberation. Okay. So, yeah, if the person brings obstacles to your practice, this Brahmasambhava that is an obscuration of Mara. So they give some examples. Some people, you want to receive transmissions. Some people suggest to leave. Also, somebody appears as a friendly Dharma fellow, but try to convince you leaving the Dharma the teaching. The example. Also, Longchenpa said, if we have listened to many learned masters and received deep instructions, we have to apply them. Without even applying them, we are just fooling ourselves. We're not, without applying them, we're not getting the mind, the strength of our mind. I mean, or stabilized, right? So if we have a strong mind, so we mind power, then we are not get impacted by Mara. Nagarjuna also said, having faith, dispel the state without freedoms, upholding precept, enable a good rebirth. Vasubandhu also said, to attain a good rebirth, it's important to uphold precept. To uproot defilement, it's important to practice the Dharma. Then Pachu Rinpoche said, the true Dharma, authentic Dharma is just around you. So no need to seek elsewhere. So some people not establish the solid foundation. They rarely reflect inwardly, only seek outwardly. They were not having a successful practice. So Kemp also said the key is whether a practitioner is willing to devote enough effort. Okay, so that's the last part. I think everyone already read. So let's see the last one question. Why do we say this is as soon as one of the 34 conditions is unmet, then we do not have the opportunity to practice the proper Dharma. Okay, let's see. Sally, could you please read the text reading 5? Thank you. Sally, are you there? No? Elaine?
Yeah, I got it.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
In summary, you must check the freedoms and advantages all the time. If you fail to check and any of these elements are missing, you will miss the opportunity to truly practice the Dharma. It's just like driving. even if a driver is skilled and all the other conditions are present. With a broken wheel or without gas, the car still cannot move. Nowadays, some people don't have a successful practice, so they ask for divination everywhere, seeking answers to questions like, why is my practice substandard? Why can I attain signs of progress in the practice? Why have I not had direct vision of my deity? Actually, your unsuccessful practice is because you don't have all the causes and conditions, among which the 34 freedoms and advantages are the most crucial. If one of these elements is missing, your opportunity to practice might be cut off. Therefore, you don't need to ask around. The problem with your practice lies here. If you don't have any problems with the freedoms and advantages, your practice will definitely go smoothly. After all, accomplishing even a minor everyday task requires the conditions of many mutually dependent causes conditions. So, how could the practice of the true Dharma, aimed at achieving the ultimate goal and benefiting both oneself and others, not require the conjunctions of many interconnected factors? For example, when Tibetans were traveling long distances, it was common for them to brew themselves some tea along the way. The making of tea requires many different elements, such as the pot, the water, the wood, the fire, and so on. Just lighting the fire itself is impossible without a flint, steel, tinder, the traveler's hands, and other necessary items. Tibetans normally put all these in a pocket, and when it is time to make fire, they rub the steel against the flint, and when sparks fall on the tinder, smoke immediately rises. They add a bit of dried grass or paper, and the fire starts to burn. If the traveler is missing just one thing, such as the tinder, either used up or wet from rain, then even if the flint and the steel are in perfect condition, it is of no use. As a result, he is left with no other option but to abandon the idea of making tea. Similarly, without the presence of every single element of the freedoms and advantages, the true practice of Dharma becomes impossible. For example, if practitioners have heavy afflictions, they may, at first, practice well in the Sangha, but later their negative emotions take over. They start to lose their temper. They cannot get along well with their Vajra brothers and sisters, and then they leave the Sangha. From then on, they put aside all other sequential practice. Therefore, through direct or vicarious experience, a wise person will realize that each of these elements is indispensable. There is a verse in Chandrakirti's Introduction to the Middle Way that the great Jimmapunta Rinpoche really liked. If, when free and dwelling in a wholesome state, we make no effort to remain therein, we will fall into the depth of and then deprived of freedom. How shall we escape and rise again? When we are free and have favorable conditions as a human, we don't guard our body, speech, and mind with mindfulness and vigilance, and we don't practice diligently to antidote afflictions. Once we fall into the three lower realms, we are completely under the control of our negative karma. So, how can we escape and rise again? We should contemplate this scripture evidence again and again. Some people often said, I am too busy to practice. In fact, as long as you appreciate the precious human life, you can certainly find time for practice. Otherwise, time flies quickly by, as said in the sutra. The human form is hard to attain and easy to lose. The time easily flits by and it's harder to capture. Once we squander this human life or commit wrongdoings with it, it will be harder to regain this human form than to scale the sky. The Brahma Net Sutta said, once we lose our human form, we will not regain it even after 10,000 kalpas. Therefore, we have to rely on the qualified teachers' teachings and the sublime beings' supreme peace instructions, and then develop a self-rescue mentality. Each of us should check our state to see whether we should meditate on the difficulty of finding freedoms and advantages. Without real practice, just listening to the teachings is not enough. There is a big difference between hearing and practicing, as well as between knowing and experiencing. We should recognize the differences and then truly engage in the practice.
Thank you, Sally. So, do you want to share from this paragraph you're reading?
Yeah, I think Campbell gave very good examples like driving. We don't have one of the factors. We might just have a flat tire. And also give an example of making tea, although we never make tea in that way, but we can appreciate how to do it, maybe camping. It's, 34, I think it's very difficult to go through one by one, but I think we could check ourselves if we really realize the preciousness of human birth. We feel like always said we like except for our hair is caught in fire, and then not to waste squander our time, and time's running out. And I think Nim posted that we can die any moment and so forth. That although it is true, sometimes we just forget it, like dying in some other business, people's business. So I think we should consider we are extremely lucky to have this opportunity to encounter Dharma and have a group practice together. Although we have to do study and so forth, but by putting a little effort every week, we are moving along. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Sally. Yeah, you already get all the point of this paragraph. So check the freedoms and advantages all the time. Unsuccessful practice is because you don't have all the causes and conditions. Yeah, that's very important. So for Jimmy Ponsor Rinpoche also said we need to make effort. We need have causes and conditions and effort. So please prioritize the study of this text and also practice in sitting meditation. That's the previous meditation, 92 meditation we covered in previous. Without a real understanding of the Ngöndro teachings and a sustained practice, I think there's more like a effort. There is a big difference between hearing and practicing, and as well as between knowing and experiencing. So that's also Campo mentioned a few times in this teachings, like the superficial practitioners and the real practitioners, they body, mind, and speech are very different. So also this is very important. Why we can experience it, we have to generate conviction. We need to practice the meditation. We need to think again and again what we have covered here. So anyone else want to add something? Anything else want to add it? No? Okay, so I think we are good for today's lesson. So a few minutes passed. Dedication. By this merit may I attain the omniscient Buddhahood and overcome all enemies, the mental afflictions. May I liberate all beings from the ocean of samsara, unsettled by the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death. Just as the warrior Manjushri attained omniscience and Samattabhadra too, all this merit now I dedicate to train and follow their footsteps. And all the Buddhas of past, present, and future praise these aspirations as supreme. So now I dedicate all this root of virtue for all beings to perfect good actions. Onahom Bajaguru Bamasiddho, Onahom Bajaguru Bamasiddho, Onahom Bajaguru Bamasiddho. Okay. Thank you everyone to join this lesson. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.